This is one of the most important videos I've made. We're at a pivotal moment in so many ways. And after thinking deeply about my Tesla investment the past weekend, I came to some major conclusions. Now, thoughts about selling definitely started to enter my mind recently. There's been a lot of bearishness, a lot of herd mentality, a lot of capitulation. It is spreading like a disease. I've been investing in Tesla since 2019. And if you look around right now, you find the worst sentiment around the stock that I've seen in that time frame, 6 years. Bulls are capitulating everywhere. We just had Gary Black. We were correct to reduce our Tesla position from 12% to 2.7%, yada, yada, yada. Him and the rest of the clown crew here, Gerber. Why reduce it from 12 to 2%? Why not just get rid of it entirely? Oh, because he has to talk about it to stay relevant for his fund. These guys are traders. They are not long-term investors. Barry Glack, as Warren calls him, is just obsessed with his short-term performance of his fund because that's what it's all about for him. He doesn't care about long-term Tesla. He's not a long-term Tesla investor. Get out of here. If you want to watch your money go up every year, it's simple. Buy an index fund like the S&P 500. Make a modest little return every year, 10% on average. If you want to earn outsized returns with some more volatility, look at Tesla. But I think it's going to work out in the long run. So I just want to compare really quick Tesla to Apple. Over its 40-year history, Apple stock has gone up over 127,000%, as you can see here. Yet along the way, Apple experienced several major drops, massive drops. It dropped 52% in one day alone, September 29, 2000. It's had multiple 50% drops, as a matter of fact. But can you find them in the chart below? No, because they don't matter. History does not even remember them. Apple has been public for 40 years. And as you can see, the huge returns didn't even come until the latter half here. First 20 years, it only went up a measly 300%. Now, Elon Musk has been working on both Tesla and SpaceX for around 20 years now. And look at all that they've already accomplished in just 20 years. If we look at Tesla in the same time span as Apple, they are where this red arrow is right now. This is how long Tesla's been around, okay? And again, you see with Apple, all of these massive returns came a little bit later. So I think with Tesla, the story is just getting started here. So again, from 1984 to 2004, 20 years, Apple only went up 300%. Only, this great return, but as you can see, that 127,000%, much of that came way later, the second half, the next 10 and 20 years. Tesla appears to be on a similar trajectory. I think it is still very early days. So again, in Musk's short tenure of just 20 years, he made reusable rockets at SpaceX, which the experts, we got to put that in air quotes, said was impossible. He started an electric car company, which yet again, the experts said was impossible. Imagine where we're going to be in another 20 years. I can guarantee you one thing, the so-called experts of today will tell you it's impossible. Now, there are periods Tesla goes up, but also if you look, there's long periods of consolidation throughout its history where it did not. I mean, similar to Apple, this first 10 years here, it didn't go up a ton. This is because they're doing real work, which takes time. As you can see, from around 2010 to 2019, it was pretty flat. And even though it looks pretty flat, the stock still went up 2,000% in that time frame. But more on that topic of the real work that Tesla's doing and that it takes time, we're going to get to in a minute here. Now, there's obviously been a big mess the last few years as we navigate from one crisis to the next. Elon's obviously also been a little busy. Okay. He got a little distracted, with some other endeavors the last couple of years. There's been the whole buying Twitter thing, renaming it X, ensuring that we, maintained our right to free speech. While a frightening number of people seem fine to applaud the demise of free speech, which would be the first step in the end of our democracy, I won't go into it, but I will. Just one quick example before we return to scheduled programming, very important stuff on Tesla. But just remember, not too long ago, we had that whole disease. They literally locked down the entire world over. They told you couldn't go to your grandparents' funeral. They told you, simultaneously, there could be no discussion on the subject. All discourse was censored. You couldn't even talk about where it originated. Later on, some people who were labeled conspiracy theorists, turns out they were right. They were saying it came from a lab all along. Turns out it came from a lab that was studying the disease. Who would have thought? But you couldn't even talk about it. Danger, danger. Is anybody else's alarm bells going off here? So at least, after all the fussing, the truth has finally come out that it was always akin to the common cold. We locked down the entire world for the common cold. Here's the article. Don't take it from me. Wall Street Journal. But hey, at least someone benefited. After all, Big Pharma made all that money on forced vaccines. It definitely had nothing to do with the billions of dollars that Big Pharma pays the media and advertising. But don't take it from me before I get flagged here. It's official. We can pretty much treat, I don't want to say it, like the flu now. Here's a guide. New guidelines from the CDC Friday. Bring the word precautions in line with those of other respiratory viruses. The point is, you couldn't even talk about this stuff, which seems pretty un-American to me. So yes, maybe Elon Musk got distracted the last couple of years, giving us this platform that truly honors free speech, our First Amendment, after all. They didn't make it the Second Amendment. They didn't make it the 15th Amendment. First and most important, maybe the founding fathers said, gee whiz, that's sort of important to have free speech. So they made it the First Amendment. I digress. Back to Tesla, why I'm not selling. It is getting interesting now. There will definitely be a lot more pain short term, I think. But again, if you have a long time horizon, I refer back to that Apple chart. Massive drops, not even a blip on the radar compared with what followed. Now, Tesla is definitely facing some challenges. These recent layoffs seem indicative of a couple things. Elon seems mad. He's been fighting the matrix, getting pay packages from 6 years ago revoked for, pissing off the wrong people, a whole other frightening topic for another day. I suspect he's not happy Tesla has not made more progress. They've been doing great for years, for the past few years, but Elon level progress is a completely different playing field. So he's riding the ship. You've seen a massive shakeup with some big name executives leaving, as well as that 10% staff layoff, as it seems like the company's preparing for the next phase of their future plan. Now, Tesla's broken promises. This is a common criticism I see of the company, that they do not deliver what they say they will. I think this is false. They do deliver what they say they will, just not when they say they will. And there's a very important big difference here. Have they broken promises, or have they done everything they said they would? It just took longer than expected. They have missed many of their timelines. Full self-driving and robo-taxis were supposed to be here this year for the past 5+ years, but it's because they set the bar high, and they're the only company for a long time that was even attempting to do these truly exciting, innovative things. Tesla is a real company doing real work, and it takes years to bring these things to fruition. Things don't just happen overnight, even with all the best people in a room, which Tesla's got some of the best talent for sure. Tesla is a manufacturing company. They build complex cars with thousands of different parts. Progress takes time, but Tesla still moves faster than anybody else. Now, you've seen dozens of internet and software companies become immensely successful in the past 2 decades. There's a reason why you have hundreds of software companies, but during that same time frame, isn't it interesting? You have only one company that built reusable rockets and one company that started an electric vehicle revolution. Oh, and they're both run by Elon Musk. Rockets and cars, the two worst businesses to start with historical guarantees of failure. Elon Musk made both succeed at the same time. So now Tesla is going all in on the idea of FSD and full self-driving, and it's proving to be a much harder problem to solve than anticipated, hence the delays. But it's not just some pie in the sky idea that's far out that they keep saying we're going to have this one day and have nothing to show right now. They've made immense progress in a very small time span, just a few years, really. You take a test drive in any Tesla car now with FSD V12, see it for yourself. They are attempting to do insanely hard things. Unforeseen problems arise, and it takes longer than expected. The difference is they are attempting extraordinary things. No one else is even trying. Do you want to invest in the innovator or the stagnator? Tesla is going for it. This is not a bet the company moment in the sense that they're desperate. I think it's more of a bet the company moment based on the sheer magnitude of the opportunity, that pursuing anything else just pales in comparison. And that's why they've decided to really just go all in on FSD. Even if Tesla were to keep increasing their car volumes every year, it just wouldn't support their current valuation, right? That's what a lot of these people have wanted, like the Gary Blacks of the world. They have a market cap of $500 billion, okay? Toyota's is $373 billion. Ford and General Motors each around of $50 billion. It's not about how many cars they can sell, as these companies sell way more cars and have much smaller market caps. Tesla selling more vehicles would not change anything. This short-term mentality and inability to delay gratification and think long-term is a cancer. It's how they constrained Henry Ford back in the day. Henry Ford. He wanted to only have one vehicle model. but he was taken to court. They forced him into making multiple models. Why? Because it made more money short term at the expense of long-term vitality for Ford, the company. So let's just quickly see how this works. If we just compare Tesla to BMW, their vehicles have a similar price point. Critics say Tesla needs more models in each category. They only have 5 vehicles: a pickup truck that's sick and a walking advertisement, an expensive sedan, a cheap sedan, an expensive SUV, and a cheap SUV. BMW has at least 10 different models across only sedans and SUVs. Then there's all this further customization, different makes and models. And what is the end result? In 2023, BMW sold 2.2 million cars globally. So you're telling me they do all this extra work with the inefficiencies that come with having to make so many variations just to sell the same amount of cars that Tesla does? And Tesla is the one who should change their streamlined, hyper-efficient process? How many iPhone variations does Apple make again? It's so obvious which business model is superior, yet the collective stupidity of these pundits constantly makes my brain ache. Tesla could have done this. It would also mean they stop innovating, become a niche player. Maybe it even elevates margins short term and they sell less cars. Going this route long term, they would have nowhere close to the same amount of market share. Tesla is not playing for scraps. They don't want a piece of the pie. They are playing for the whole pie. Their goal is on a level other automotive companies can't even fathom in their wildest dreams. The future lies in robotaxis and full self-driving. The fact is, FSD keeps getting better. Let's take a look at this chart here. It is already here, and in many cases, driving better than a human can the majority of the time. It doesn't get distracted. It doesn't check its cell phone. It just keeps improving. Do you see the hockey stick forming for the number of miles being driven with FSD here? Remember the following the next time the fake news tells you how unsafe Tesla's FSD is. The accident rate for Tesla is 80% lower than the US average when FSD is in use. Tesla vehicles using full self-driving had 0.31 accidents per million miles driven, which is 5 times lower than the US national average. It is already saving lives. So there you have it. Short-term sentiment has gotten so bad, I wouldn't be surprised to see a contrarian bounce up in the stock price here after the earnings, but everyone's expecting further downside. It may very well happen. Fine. Why doesn't Tesla do this? Why doesn't Tesla do that? Because it all pales in comparison to the opportunity they're choosing to focus on. They are far in the lead and have been way ahead of the curve. Now you see everyone else try to play catch up. It's the same thing with the Tesla bot. They announced it in 2021. Now you see Figure AI backed by several billionaires, including Jeff Bezos. They basically put together the billionaire real-life Avengers to try to have any chance of competing with Elon and Tesla. They see where the future's going before we all get it. Again, I go back to Apple. The iPhone was laughed out of the room. Apple can't compete with Motorola. They can't compete with BlackBerry, they said. It's the same thing that happens over and over. The endless benefits of FSD and robotaxi will become obvious in hindsight. That's just how progress works. I love the quote by Steve Jobs. He said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards." And I think that's exactly what you're going to see with the whole FSD and robotaxi that nobody believes in right now. Robotaxis will be cheaper. They'll be more efficient, more convenient than car ownership for many people, not all. Families with kids are obviously still going to need to own cars. They're going to have car seats, workers that need a lot of equipment to bring around, things like that. But not everyone will need their own car. Think Uber, but way cheaper, and Gen Z doesn't have to get anxiety talking to anyone. Safety, you can watch a movie or do work while you're stuck in traffic. You could sleep on a road trip. There's endless benefits, and the FSD beta is already getting so good. It's already here. It's improving constantly. So if we look at history, first there was the horse and buggy, then the automobile. It'll never work, they said. There's no roads. There's no infrastructure. And then one day there was. Then came Tesla with electric cars. It will never work, they said. You can't charge them. Then Tesla built a global supercharging network. Next will come autonomous robotaxis. That'll never work, they're saying now. Elon Musk made reusable rockets possible. I mean, seriously, it's a hard problem to solve with FSD, but a car that can use cameras to stay in a lane should be pretty easy in comparison to figure out, I think. So everyone is saying the stock's going to get killed after earnings tomorrow, and it's possible the stock could keep going down significantly short term, but this is all short-term noise. Let's see what Tesla can do in 3 years, not in 1 quarter. Warren Buffett says to judge a company not based on quarterly results, but based on what they've done in 5 years. Quarterly numbers can be finessed to manufacture growth and earnings, but long-term, the numbers don't lie. I'd say that Tesla has improved 100x in the last 5 years in every way, from brand value to the company culture, the talent. They have a deep roster. They have an economy of immense scale. They've got all these new product offerings and a great balance sheet with very little debt. Tesla's still in its infancy, and I'm in it for the long haul to see how they can stack up to Apple. Apple's great. It's been around 40 years. Look how far they were able to get. Tesla's only been around 20 years. And in 20 years, Tesla brought us electric cars, autonomous driving. They're now working on humanoid autonomous robots, not to mention innovations across several other industries like energy and even car insurance. So I'm keeping my shares to see how it all plays out. This is only the beginning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This is Vinny from the Investment Club. I'll see you guys next time.